Alright, I was on the forums and a guy posted about hardcore hatchets. And I looked him up and I just kind of had to laugh because they were literally just a carpenter's axe or carpenter's hatchet. You get that white beard and then a little hammer on the back. And I think they were charging $160 for it. You can buy them for $30 at Home Depot. Better fit and finish on the hardcore hatchets, but really not loving. I think they got a zombie version that's $60, but it's really not twice as nice. And then the conversation kind of gravitated, as they always do, towards the Grand Forest Brooks and other small forest axes, which are larger than the hatchet. This is a cobalt little £1.25 hatchet I bought at Lowe's for $16. It required a lot of work, a lot of work, just cleaning up the edge here and making it something usable. But it was $16, dude. It's great for making kindling, splits like a mofo. And if you look at the head pattern, you can see that it's a wedge. And that wedge will just split wonderfully. It's not for cutting, it's for splitting. Because I'm not gonna cut down a tree with a hatchet, right? So why am I going to put a cutting edge on a tool that I'm dominantly going to use for splitting? And the great thing about bidding $16 is I can lose this. It's $16. It's not a big investment. It's not a big investment in time. It's not a big investment in energy. It's $16. So I can use this and abuse this and call it a day. It's also fairly light. It's like what? I think 2 pounds. Great. Well, anyways, the conversation had turned towards the Grand Forest Brook and small felling axes. You know, the axes with like a 19 to 24 inch handle. Forget the actual specs. Don't actually care. And here's the deal. For 90% of the tasks you're going to do, a hatchet works. If a hatchet is not up to the task for those things you want to do, you don't need a mid-sized axe that's about $150 and weighs 2 to 3 pounds and is sorry, traffic went through. I'm at a campsite, it's kind of busy. So if you are trying to do something in camp and a hatchet won't cut it, you don't need a mid-size axe. You don't need something that's, 2 pound head or 1 3/4 head and a longer shaft. Especially not a Grand Forest Brook or something like that, because they have that nice thin bit, which is great for chopping, not so good for splitting. What you want, what you need, is one of these. Now, barely fits in the frame. This is a 4-pound Kelly True Temper flint edge. It's from 1950s, 1960s. Maybe probably make that out. And I restored it. I bought it for, head was $30 shipped from some gentleman in Florida. He said it was his father's. I wanted to give it more life, give it a new life. You can see a little bit of mushrooming here where someone pounded on it, but that's fine. I can eventually take that off the file sometime. Put it on a link handle I bought at, where did I buy this? True Value. True Value is great because they actually have some higher quality tools than you might find at Lowe's or Home Depot. Home Depot only had the True Temper handles, and the True Temper handles, the replacement ones, are super thick, and the grain orientation is all wrong. So they did not feel well in the hand. These are just small hand slide. It's great. I can actually put some good power in. You ever watch those old movies with Errol Flynn? And he said, holding a sword, you have to hold it like a bird in the hand. Hold it too tight, it'll die. Hold it too lightly, it'll fly away. An axe is the same way. You want a good grip, you want to have a light enough hold on it that it can slide and it can do its thing and let the axe do the work, but you don't want it to fly out of your hands. So if I'm doing a big task like chopping down a tree or even chopping firewood, I want a big axe. I want a 4-pound head on a 36-inch American hickory shaft. You'll note the little Ranger band at the end protects it from nicks and dings, and a pinch you can burn it. It's great. Same thing with the little hemp cordage on here. You can soak that with a little boiled linseed, and it's a great emergency tinder. And it has actually survived through a couple billets of wood, so I'm not worried about that. The Ground Force Brooks axes are a compromise because they're a mid-size axe. They're max 2-pound head. I mean, they do make full-size American felling axes, but that's not what most people get. They get sling with like a 1 3/4 pound head, 2-pound head, mid-length handle, not a hatchet, not an axe. You can get 2 hands on it. What people don't realize, unfortunately, is those axes are incredibly dangerous. Here's why. So, when you swing, the axe wants to go in an arc. And if you have a nice long handle and you're splitting downwards, that arc terminates on the ground. I swing down, boom, axe goes straight to the ground. If I miss, something goes straight to the ground. With a shorter axe, that arc terminates not on the ground, it terminates in my foot, in my leg. So if I have this nice long 36-inch handle and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I strike through the log, or it glances off, or God knows what happens, this is going straight in the ground. It might chip. Oh, that's another thing, by the way. So Ground Force Brooks and all those axes, they're great axes. I love them. I like that someone's resurrected this old axe craft. Are hardened to much harder Rockwell hardness than American axes. They're harder than a Council tool, they're velvet cut line. They're harder than most things you're going to find. I think their L6 steel is what we figured it was out at. Anywho, so that's going to chip. You hit a rock, that's going to chip, and you're going to have a little half moon missing out of your axe. Now, with something like this, it hits a rock, it's going to deform. It's called plastic deformation. And the cool thing about that is it flattens out, it straightens out, because this is a softer steel. It holds a great edge. It holds as much of an edge as it needs to. And no more. It's not hardened any more than it needs to be. So it's less likely to chip. And I can work all that out with my wonderful little Lansky sharpener, wherever it may roam. It's a hockey puck, it goes places. And it has a coarse and a fine side. And I keep that wrapped in an oil rag. And that will just maintain that edge. Lovely. Take out most dings. It's great. Ground Force Brooks or something like that, Wetterlings, you chip that edge. It's probably going to be a pretty big chip, and you might have to redo this entire profile to get rid of it. But, hey, I built this axe to work, and that's what it does. It splits wood effortlessly, even though it's not a splitting axe. Now, a splitting axe is going to have that really wide bit, and it's going to taper like that. It's going to act like a wedge. This, it's made for cutting, but it does a great job of splitting because it's 4 frickin' pounds. And I can split bigger rounds in this. I can split a 16-inch round with this. I can split a 20-inch round with this. I can't really do that with a little mid-size axe like a Hudson Bay pattern that's small. It doesn't really work that well. So, Hatchet, small jobs. Big, bad American felling axe, big jobs. Okay, compromise axe, can't do all the work this big boy can do. Compromise axe, well, heavier than this bad boy, doesn't do much more. Thus end the sermon. So, in short, so what do I carry? Do I carry my hatchet? Do I carry my big frickin' axe? Well, I might carry my hatchet, but I'm definitely carrying this Silky Big Boy 2000. Frickin' awesome. It's, like a foot of impulse hardened steel. Saws through a log like nobody's business. I've done carpentry with this freaking thing. Went through 5 2x4s in, 2 minutes? And left a pretty good edge. Well, I mean, a pretty nice, smooth edge. Of course, it has that little bit where it leaves these teeth open to snag on your gear and cut up your bags. But, hey, just throw a sock over it, call it a day. And that brings me to something important. Axes are great. I love my axe. I like this thing. Like, I wouldn't have spent a weekend working on it if I didn't really like and cherish this thing. But for 90% of what people do, saw, gonna do it better, it's gonna do it safer. So, if I need to take down a tree, well, ideally I have both of these, but I really only need this. I'm gonna cut a wedge out for an undercut and form a hinge, and I'm gonna saw the back. I'm gonna fell that tree. Now, normally I'm not gonna fell a large tree. Anything I can't put both hands around poses a lot of danger. And I can cover that in another video. But what I'm gonna choose to cut down trees is gonna be this. Ideally both. I'd rather have this. It's safer. You can use it at night. Someone who's not skilled with an axe, who hasn't put in the time and the energy to learn how to use one, can use one of these. They're great. Now, there's an argument about weight savings for having, the mid-size axe. That the mid-size axe is a great weight savings because it weighs, I think, some weigh like 2.25 pounds, whereas something like this weighs just 4 pounds for the head, and I think about a pound for the handle. I haven't weighed it. I'm not gonna bother weighing it. That's where it comes in handy to have friends. So I can give my friend this saw to hold on to, and I'll take this axe. And we both have our small knives, or Moras, or whatever. This is a Spyderco Atlantic Salt, I think, non-serrated, H1 steel, rust impervious. Love it. Can't baton through stuff with it. I think one night I chopped off that part to make it a bottle opener, but it works. It also allows it to act like a flipper, so pocket catches like that, and boom, flicks it open. Great for one-handed use. So I'm gonna share the load because I might give my buddy this bad boy here. Let's zoom in on this. Give my friend this big boy here, and I'll take the axe. Or he'll take the axe, and I'll take the hatchet, right? Along with some other gear. We're gonna share that weight. If we have a shared camping space, like a 2-person tent, awesome. We can share that load between us. And that's one of the reasons why it pays to have friends. So that would allow me to take my nice big axe, because instead of having 2 people holding mid-sized axes, I'd rather have 1 person with a big freaking axe and 1 person with a saw. Just makes more sense to me. But I think the solo aspect of bushcraft and fieldcraft and camping and all this stuff is slightly overrated. A lot of these scenarios are, what would you do if you were alone? What would you do if it was just you? What would you bring if it was just you in the woods? And I don't really like that, because a lot of the times it has just been me. It has just been me having to do these things, but you really should be seeking out community, other people to do these things with, other people to practice with.